Hey everyone, it's the DCEU podcast, man, and for this episode, I'll be exploring the ideas of why Warner Brothers and DC should make the Ben Affleck Batman movie. I know in my previous podcast, I talked about it in a past episode, but I'm looking at all the missed opportunities and how this would have impacted the franchise as a whole. Starting with the style of the movie, I know I talked about it, but hear me out. With how that style could transition to future DC movies, while critics and some fans didn't take kindly to the darker atmosphere that the universe was trying to take on, it was indeed a perfect way to show the hardness that the heroes face in their lives. Like, we got a deeper look at how out of place Superman feels among Earthlings. So with that in mind, with the horror movie style that Ben Affleck one would have taken on, it, we could have seen a more gruesome outlook for the life of Batman in Gotham. While past Batman movies and shows have captured certain aspects of this, Ben Affleck's Batman movie would have went all out and show how terrifying the world can be even with superheroes like the Justice League. While something like this may have been done in Joker and in the Dark Knight trilogy, but this style would have shown like human behavior from a mentally and emotionally disturbed person who on the outside seems fine, but on the inside is a wreck. Every show and movie of Batman and comic has captured this, but within this style, we can see like how this greatly impacts them in a higher level, because while we will see like how he grieves over like not being able to win his fights, or like how he tries to fight tooth and nail in order to protect people, we can see like what's like when the Dark Knight loses, which we see a little bit in both Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice, and in Justice League when he felt like he let Superman down. But now we can see like how he really feels when he loses people he cares about, certain friends of his, because of one hitman. And we can see like the world from a hitman's point of view, like how he doesn't view human life as something to keep sacred, or feeling like it's something that you can easily toy with. Kind of like how maybe the Dark Knight's Batman did with their Joker. The second reason why they should make the Ben Affleck Batman movie would with Deathstroke. While I talked about how it would have set up a solo movie for him and a part of the Injustice League, it also would have given him a part like Loki in the MCU. He would have been behind the scenes of many different like catastrophes or crimes. He would have had a hand in certain disasters and certain problems. Kind of like Baron Zemo in Captain America Civil War, he could have had a key role in many of the tensions that would have risen for the Justice League, while secretly manipulating them to not trust each other. While that happened in Captain America Civil War with the Avengers, is different because the Justice League aren't always going at each other's throats. Even though they may disagree with each other at times, it never risen like Iron Man and Captain America. So, while it wouldn't have led to an all-out Justice League Civil War like it did for the Avengers, it still would have been interesting to see how a scenario like that would have played out. Because besides Deathstroke, Lex Luthor also would have helped him, since he manipulated Batman and Superman to fight each other, and we could have seen why that kind of teamwork with those two villains could have been like something even greater than like Thanos working with Loki or Thanos working with Ronan. It would have been a team up that was more deadly than anything ever imagined. And in Batman vs. Superman, Lex Luthor hinted that he knew about Batman's secret identity, like how he knew about Superman's. So he would have been a major factor in everything that Deathstroke would have done in the Ben Affleck Batman movie. So we probably could have seen some of Lex Luthor there also. Maybe like in the end of the movie when Batman beats Deathstroke and he's sent to prison, Lex Luthor probably would have been the one to break him out that time, or he probably would have escaped himself and met up with Lex Luthor. But unless Warner Brothers and DC decides to change their mind, we're never going to see that. The third reason why they shouldn't make the Ben Affleck Batman movie is the casting. It would be criminal to say that Ben Affleck does not make a great Batman. His acting as the Dark Knight was simply extraordinary. He gave such a powerful performance of Bruce Wayne when he's both wearing and not wearing his cape and cowl. Plus, of all the different Batman in every Batman movie, this one comes close to being more of a detective, as we saw in Dawn of Justice, when Batman was looking into the white Portuguese with Lex Luthor and everything else involved with all the recent crime activity in Gotham. Now, to some fans, the portrayal of Batman in the DC Extended Universe, it was a little controversial with how brutal he was to all the different bad guys he's fought. But given how brutal Batman's methods are, I like to remind everyone that Batman wasn't always a merciful vigilante we've seen in the past. There were numerous times in the comics and in the graphic novels, like in The Dark Knight Returns, where Batman would go so far as to kill people when it seemed necessary. In Ben Affleck's Batman, we would have seen how his years of fighting crime slowly turned him into the hardcore vigilante that's been portrayed so far. While still being the dark and hardcore vigilante he is, we could have seen like how he started out so merciful before like more and more different crimes and cases eventually led him down a darker path. But as the franchise progressed, we could have seen how Batman, who became like this self-righteous sort of a hard, merciless crime fighter, into a more sympathetic, merciful vigilante, like when he started out in the beginning of his career as Batman. With each installment showing him becoming more and more, I guess you can say, like, relaxed about crime fighting. But with how things are going now, unless the Snyder Cut succeeds, we won't know for sure whether or not we will see that. But it still would have been cool to see, like, how, kind of like with Iron Man, like how he went from this arrogant, egotistical jerk into a more, like, righteous hero. I mean, he was still an egotist, but at least he became, like, less selfish. The fourth and final reason why this movie should be made is because their depiction of a cross between a horror movie and a comic book movie would have been groundbreaking in cinema history. While the movie Brightburn did something similar to this, it was mostly a straight-up horror movie. Its main character had a growing darkness rather than focusing on a hero that is slowly being destroyed from the outside, not physically though, but more mentally. This style of superhero movies could have influenced others to follow suit. And not just in DC, also. There are many different comic book characters that could benefit from copying a style like that. But since this podcast is DC themed, we're just going to focus on DC heroes. Like, it could have worked for characters like Intrigan the Demon, Swamp Thing, even for characters like Lobo. Many other movies could have learned to adapt a style like that to their own movies, thus giving us future movies that could have had a style that has characters be like horror movie characters, despite being like coming straight out of the comic book. Unless, that's a horror-themed one, but for other, like, non-horror-themed ones. And that's it for this podcast. Remember to hit like and subscribe to my channel, and you can listen to me on other podcast listening sites like Spotify. Thank you, goodbye. And I hope you all enjoyed the Snyder Cut of Justice League.